just lost 2-1 to West Ham, and yeah, it's hard to actually come up with words at the moment, to be honest with you. I thought there was going to be a reaction for this game. I really did. I actually fancied us to win this game, but we just first time. Let's just. I'm going to try and give a balanced analysis of everything, okay? Because I know there's a lot of knee-jerk reactions at the moment. I'm going to try and be as balanced as I can and call out every element that I think is going wrong. But before I do that, I just want to say that I'm also going to first talk about West Ham. The first half, you have to give credit to them. I think they were really hungry. They were quicker to the first ball, quicker to the second ball. They really wanted it. They were hunting in packs. They were pressing. They knew when to press, when to drop off. They were creating a brick wall for us. They were limiting us to really half chances. And you know, the half chances fell to Kane, and I don't think Kane's looking sharp at the moment, I have to say. And he sliced one when I think he should have gone across the keeper. Then he had another one which he shot well, was across the keeper, but Flappy Hansky got to it easily. But to be honest with you, that first half they held us out. It was a little bit like a 6'5" guy holding a dwarf on the head, and the dwarf swinging like this. I never felt as though we were going to score. And then he brings on. Then it was a game of two halves. Second half, we bring on Bale, we bring on Doherty, and I don't know why we brought on Doherty. I thought Tanganga was playing all right, but I'm guessing he was trying to sort of play Doherty a little bit further forward to try and get hurt in the wide areas. But, you know, this is Doherty we're talking about in the wide areas. I think his crossing was woeful the whole second half. But anyway, Bale looked good, and here's my honest analysis of this. Bale looked good, but that's only because West Ham went from playing 5 out of 5 in terms of energy to about 2 or 3 out of 5, and they sat back really deep, and they kind of tried to just hold on for the lead, I guess, and they dropped deep, but they weren't looking quite as resolute in defence. They weren't pressing on the ball so much. They weren't limiting the space so much. So it meant that Bale could pick up the ball in pockets. And you know, because he had that fresh energy and he's sort of playing all right, he has a bit of confidence at the moment from the last game. He was looking like he could be the one to cause some damage if there was going to be any damage caused, you know, from us. And you know, he put some good balls, some good crosses, and he had a good shot. It would have been a world if he'd scored to hit the bar. But still, I really didn't feel as though we were hurting West Ham, even though I think we created about 17 attempts. But in reality, we weren't really getting in behind them. I didn't really feel as though we had any. You know, it didn't really feel like we were hurting them like we should have been doing, you know. And you know, I think we had that big chance with Kane puts in the ball. I think he waited too long. I think we should have got that crossing earlier. And of course, the West Ham player got a last minute, you know, tackling deflection and got the ball away, clearance, I should say. But here's the kind of the upshot of it. We are now 9th in the league, and yes, I know a lot of people are going to just hyper focus on Sanchez and Dyer. But you've got to ask yourself, West Ham are 10 points ahead of us or 9 points ahead of us. You can't say that is just because of the central defenders, because West Ham don't have a good team. You know, we've got Kane, we've got Son, we've got Ndombele, we've got Reguilon, you know, we've got Højbjerg is a good player. We've got really good players in there. There's no way that we should be down in 9th. And you do have to, on some level, put that down to the manager. You can watch the show that I did with Sim where we talk about this. And, you know, the argument, the opposite argument is it's just the individual errors. But for me, that's too much of a cop-out, because every single goal that you concede is an individual error. And I know that what we're seeing is it looks like a couple of clowns at the back, and that's true, but it's not just that, okay? You've also got to look at the collective as well. So the individual level and the collective level. So the collective level, when you look at the team structurally, the team looks lifeless. It doesn't have that cohesion. West Ham, when they're playing, they look like a team. You know, they're playing as a team. When you watch us at the moment, especially when we're not on it, we look like a bunch of individuals thrown together for the first time, and it's almost a little bit like there's no game plan, there's no passage of play. It's a little bit like get the ball to Ndombele, he might make something happen. Get the ball to Son and Kane, they might come up with some magic. There's no real philosophy, there's no identity, there's no real personality on the pitch, and I just don't think the players are playing for Mourinho at the moment. And I think he's running out of ideas. I think he's experimenting a little bit too much, and he's making silly substitutions. Doherty, for instance, I couldn't really understand. You know, I mean, Bale was a good move, but you know, he's waited nearly the whole season before he started to play him. So there's a lot of things that's not right there, and I think you do have to question the manager as much as you also do have to question the some of the players we've got as well, which I think are not even Europa League level, you know. And I think we do need an overhaul, but you can't just say it's the individuals. You do also have to. You know, why play these players? Why play Sanchez and Dyer if we know, you know, how calamitous they are, for instance, you know? So I'm going to say something now. This might get a reaction, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying this, but I do almost feel as though one of the reasons why Mourinho keeps like rotating the back line and kind of like experimenting, each game is sort of a new back line, new defenders, you know, Roden, then it's Dyer, then it's Davies, then it's all, you know, just kind of mixing it up all the time. I think he's doing that because when there are individual errors, people are just going to go, they keep making mistakes. That's why he's having to rotate it. It's the back line. It's the back line. It's through these individual errors. And I think what that does is it detracts from the way that Mourinho is managing the team and getting the best out of the team at the moment. I think he's almost saving his skin by doing that in a way. I know people say yes, but he's having to do that because of the mistakes. But I think in a way it's a little bit of a magic trick. It's like misdirection. You kind of get them hyper-focusing on the individual errors, and then it sort of takes away from Mourinho's input, which is to try and squeeze the best out of these players. I mean, we've got star players, and I think they're playing at about 70% of their potential. You know, look at Brendan Rodgers. You know, they haven't got a better starting 11 than us, but they're streets ahead of us. West Ham, 9 points ahead of us. You can't say that they have better individuals than us, even in defence. So, I think that, you know, it's a multifaceted, complex equation. Some of the players we've got aren't good enough. Davies, Dyer, Winks, Sissoko, even Aurier probably isn't good enough for a title challenging team. Did I mention Sanchez here? So these players, they're not good enough. I get that. But at the same time, we've got Kane, Son, Ndombele, Højbjerg, Lloris when he's on it. And I think that's good enough to be able to be better than ninth, don't you? But anyway, let's go back to the game. It was a game of two halves, and we did show a little bit more urgency in the second half. A lot of people were saying, why didn't we show that urgency in the first half? But that was actually because West Ham limited us so much, and they were working so much harder than us in that first half. I know people can say, well, why were Spurs working harder? But I think they were trying, but I think West Ham were just like playing better as a team. I really do believe that. I think they were just like snuffing us out all the time. I thought, let's go individual. I think Lloris, he's been poor for a number of games now. He's looking like Ian Walker. The second goal, if you look at it, it wasn't an out-swinging shot. It was an in-swinging shot from the middle of the goal to the corner. So you've got to get your tangent angles right. You've got to be positioned in a way off your line where when you're outstretched with your fingertips, you've got both posts covered. But that shot went in easily. And so Lloris isn't coming off his line enough to get that, to cover his angles well enough. I'm not going to blame him so much for the first goal. Because I think that's just a kind of miscommunication with the back line as well. You know, you could blame that on Sanchez, Dyer, or Lloris. So that probably also comes down to the fact that there's so much rotation in the back line that they don't really know. There's no real communication or chemistry being formed because it's just like conveyor belt each time we're playing. So that's not going to help with the team, you know, with the communication. So who else? Dele Alli. I think there was tricks and flicks, but to be honest, it's like watching Street FIFA. I think it slowed us down. I think we lost a lot of penetration when he was on. Who else? Kane tried. He was showing urgency. He was trying to grab the game by the scruff of the neck, trying to make things happen. Son, I think it's been jaded. I think he's looking really sluggish. I think he's been off the pace for the last 3 games now. I think he kind of needs to be rested or something needs to happen because it looks as though he's about to have a big injury if it carries on like this. Like he's normally got quick feet. He's normally very bright. He's normally got the twinkle toes, but none of that at the moment I've seen for the last few games. I don't think many people are going to pull him up on that. Who else can we mention in this? Of course, Sanchez and Dyer, Chuckle brothers, we know that. But Mourinho's picking them. And so if Mourinho's picking them and it doesn't get any blame, then you've got to ask yourself, why is he not being blamed for this? So for me, you have to look at it on all levels. I think ultimately it's the board's issue. I think Joe Lewis, his super yacht, doesn't care about the club. He just sees it as a little plaything to make money. And ENIC, they've got one league trophy in 20 years, not good enough. There's not the ambition that you see that you need to have for a big club. And I think and then you've got to look at Levy, and you've got to ask big questions of him and how frugal he is, and not putting any money into 2 transfer windows. Not good enough. We're not being treated as a big club. That trickles down to the whole culture of the football club. And then you've got someone like Mourinho, who's used to playing at, managing big clubs where he's got access to big money, and now we're asking him to squeeze the best out of these players. I just don't think he can do that. I honestly think he's being exposed at the moment. I think that his style of football is dated. I don't think he's able to adapt to the modern game, which is all about passing out from the back. I think, when he was in his prime, teams at the bottom end of the table, they were, playing route one football. And I think now even the teams at the bottom end of the table are still pressing. They still have a high work rate. And I think that Mourinho is very one-dimensional in the way that he plays. I think that, he's too reliant on Kane and Son. And I think if they're not at it, then we look lost. We look all lost at sea. So I think there's big issues there. I really don't know what our philosophy is. And I don't think the players are playing for him. I think he's lost the dressing room to a certain degree. So I don't know where we go from here. I mean, we've got 3 supposedly easy games coming up. We've got Burnley, Fulham and Palace. Should be getting at least 7 points from that, but you just don't know what Spurs is going to turn up. We might have a reaction like we did against West Brom. But we could even lose those games. It's really, really worrying at the moment. And then we've got Arsenal. So, we're 2 points ahead of Arsenal. We're 9th in the table, and you can't tell me that West Ham are, individually better than us. So, Mourinho does have to be called into question with this, especially. And yeah, that's kind of my rant. I've kind of been ranting off for a while. I've mentioned quite a few different things here. So yeah, I mean, what else is there to say about that game? We got the goal back. Moura, good header. He was taking risks, but yeah, it was just toothless, I guess you could say. And I really don't know where the leadership is in the team anymore. I think Lloris is sort of looking like his head's being turned by maybe PSG, or just not interested anymore. I think Kane's going to suddenly realise that his dreams aren't going to be realised at Spurs, and he could be gone in the summer. So we're at a crossroads at the moment, and we really need to be sorting this out, because the league's gone. I think top 4 could be gone now, and so we're kind of hanging on for a Europa, and also trying to beat Man City in a League Cup final, which is sort of looking like a bit of an impossibility. So it's not looking good at the moment, but yeah, we'll see how we get on the next game. All right, guys.